Welcome, 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 everyone. It is Arki Hodges here, president of the Black Achievement Fund, and I am happy to be with you all today for another BAF info session. As you guys know, I have been busy at our land in New Kemet and Toomsboro building our New Kemet retreat and residential community. And it is a very ambitious endeavor, and that's what the Black Achievement Fund is all about, big, ambitious endeavors. So today we're going to talk about that whole experience, but more pointedly, we're going to talk about the question that I posed. Is our idea too bold? Is it too daring? Is the Black Achievement Fund's ideology too radical? Are the A-frame pyramid structures we're building too radical? And I'm raising that question because some young students raised some concern about our organization recently. Sorry. Recently, and I want to have an open conversation about what does that mean exactly, especially when you look at the mission of the Black Achievement Fund and the fact that we are outwardly inclusive of all different races and people from different ideologies. I have my son today. I don't have a babysitter, so you may hear him periodically in the background. Can you guys hear my voice? I'm sorry, everyone. I'm dealing with a toddler without a babysitter right now, so please bear with me. But going back to the question, is this idea too bold? Are we being too daring? Is the architecture too much for people to be able to bear? There's been a video by a white woman that has gone viral, and I'm going to share that video because she unpacks a lot of what racist white people feel, the sentiment that they carry as to why they continuously hate black people, essentially. And a lot of black people have felt this sentiment from racist white people, and we know that jealousy is one of the reasons why our grand Black Wall Street, the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was burnt down over 100 years ago. And we still are reeling from the horror of that. So much so that you think about all of the wealthy black people who have come and gone since 1922, 1923, that are wealthy. Black landowners, black business people, black entertainers. Why haven't we recreated another Black Wall Street? Why haven't we created other prosperous black enclaves throughout America with the level of wealth, the level of influence, the level of knowledge that we have, with our connection to owning land, so on and so forth? Why have we retreated almost exclusively away from that idea of building a community that is our own, a community that values our culture, that values our people, a community that provides our business people with a customer base, a community that grows its own food, controls its own water, a community that can sustain itself on behalf of its citizens, a community that is guided by the vision and the ideals of its citizens. When you look at other groups, you have Chinatowns all across the country, Koreatowns, Little Italies, Little Havanas, Little Ethiopia. I mean, virtually every ethnic group that you can think of has carved out their own community space in America on one scale or another. When it comes to our communities are devoid of the level of attention, the level of capital, the level of occupation by different strata amongst our community. You know, not just poor people, but, and there are exceptions, of course, but we're talking about the rule. When we first came out of enslavement, we were forced to establish our own communities. We were freed with no money, no land, no education, just let go into the wilderness. So we had to rely upon the collective network that we had. We had to rely upon those ideals of community, of family, extended family. And what we did was absolutely extraordinary. We literally built hundreds of communities with varying degrees of prosperity, with absolutely nothing given to us. In an era where there were no power tools, there were no John Deeres and Kubotas and any of that. And it's a remarkable story. And it's one that we here at the Black Achievement Fund is saying that we need to return to. And that is our mission and that is our agenda with our new Kemet community. I'm gonna go and share this video and then and we'll get back to talking. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. All right, here we go.
People is because one of the reasons white people hate black people is because we cannot tolerate black joy. We don't like black people to be educated. We don't like them to be successful. We don't want black judges. We don't want anything for black people that doesn't directly affect and entertain us. So we can have a black nanny. We can have a black house cleaner. We can have a black teacher. We can have a black coach. We can have black players. But only for the specific things that we feel comfortable with.
All right, peace, y'all. So I came across this video today on TikTok. It's starting to pick up some momentum on the internet. It kind of like starting to go viral. But I came across this on TikTok, a woman by the name of Aber Cedarbrah McDougall. And she speaks out about the truth about racism and why white people truly hate black people. and she basically runs it all now, and it's quite interesting. So we're gonna get into this. Again, her name is Aber Cedarbrah McDood on TikTok. And look, let's go ahead and get into this video. Make sure y'all hit that like button.
So, hey, Boo. I just had a thought. One of the reasons white people hate black people is because we cannot tolerate black joy. We cannot tolerate black intelligence. We cannot tolerate black beauty. We cannot tolerate black confidence. We cannot tolerate black camaraderie. We cannot tolerate anything that frees a black person. There's a level of racism that I think hits differently for black people than it does for Asian people or Hispanic people or Middle Eastern people or Native Americans even. Each one of those things that people think regarding other races are different with black people, I think. Because again, we don't like black people to be educated. We don't like them to be successful. We don't want black judges. We don't want anything for black people that doesn't directly affect and entertain us. So we can have a black nanny. We can have a black house cleaner. We can have a black teacher. We can have a black coach. We can have black players. But only for the specific things that we feel comfortable with. I think about all those sweet children that have been killed, murdered, when they go out with their white friends. And I think that as much as the trauma of slavery comes down through the DNA, I think also the cruelty of slavery, the desire to hurt, the desire to steal and kill and humiliate and torment and disappear black people is what comes down through the DNA. I think when you do something like that for long enough and you pass it down for the many years that slavery and enslaved people were in chains, that is an instinct with us, cruelty. And I think you can see it in many videos. All the white women and white men that are telling black kids and black families to get the hell out of here, you don't belong. We just don't want you to have more than us, honey. We just don't want you to be prettier. We don't want you to be the beauty standard. We don't want you to be judges or anything like that. We want you to be below us, beneath us. And we've tried so hard to keep you down, and we failed so badly. Because like Maya Angelou said, still you rise. We may hate you, we may beat you, we may do those things, and it makes us crazy that you keep coming back and getting better. We can't stand it. I don't know why that is. I think I heard somebody say that white people are the ones that have the ancestors that were closely related to the apes. And I believe that. We are so similar to Cro-Magnon man, Neanderthals, we're fucking pale monsters.
For just $67, you can...
I want to stop there. I think that's the end of her segment from her talking, and then the commentator begins to speak. But she said some very, very powerful things. And she said it on behalf of a lot of people. We acknowledge that not all white people are racist and hate black people. The history acknowledges that. When we talk about the period of African enslavement, we constantly see white people risking their lives through the Underground Railroad and other acts of kindness and bravery to assist black people. So we're not speaking about that contingent, but we are speaking about an extremely large contingent that has worked its way not just on the lower economic level, but all the way to the presidency. And this ideology is now in charge of every level Sorry, guys. Can you guys not see me? Here we go. In charge of every level of government. And many of them fall into the category of people who hate us, people who work tirelessly to ensure that we don't rise. And as she say, we continue and continue and continue to rise. When I thought about recreating a new community, I was inspired by ancient Kemet. I was inspired by the Great Pyramids, the preciseness of the architecture. When I think of African history, when I think of African civilization, I go back to ancient Kemet, even though we all know that other civilizations provided the knowledge that led to the development of ancient Kemet, that it didn't just appear out of nowhere and all of the knowledge was born from inside of the geographical area, which was then ancient Kemet. But it was just as today you have a bunch of people flocking to New York or flocking to Silicon Valley because this is now the epicenter of technology, or this is the epicenter of world commerce, or whatsoever it may be at that particular time. But it is one of the highest expressions of African genius. When we talk about structured religion, spirituality, when we talk about the refinement of society and government, when we talked about a balance between nature and architecture, you look overly and overly and overly and overly again to this example. When I studied world history, one of the things that I discovered was that African people, black African people that look like you and I, were the leaders of the world for millennia. They instructed each successive generation of human beings in how to live with nature. They improved on every technique, every science. And this is a period where you're not seeing human beings seeking to conquer other human beings. You're seeing human beings work as a one unit. There was no need for them to be warring. There was enough food, there was enough water, there were enough women, there were enough men. They were in awe of the situation they found themselves in. They learned from animals, they learned from the stars. And what they did was they gave rise to what we see, understand, live, and feel as human civilization right now today. And I'm going to share with you, when this woman talks about white people not wanting to see black joy, just think about this. You've enslaved us, then subjugated us under Jim Crow law for another 100 years, provided a glass ceiling over our head once the chains of segregation were broken down, relegate us to poverty-stricken communities, deny our communities the same resources, create an education system that is created to further deny our everything, and still we rise, and still we rise. So that has to be one of the most infuriating things to witness. I'm going to share really quickly a slideshow. When you talk about the people who built the pyramids, you're talking about people who look like this. Right now in Egypt, the Arabs who are in control have tried their best to erase the Africanity of ancient Egyptian history and try to replace it with their own and claim that this civilization was a part of their heritage, their history, doing everything they can to deny, even as Egypt sits squarely on the continent of Africa. This is the civilization. This is the level of organization. This is the level of civilization that we ascended to. That was stolen, copied, and then buried. So this is the other part that the woman didn't talk about. The fact that those people who are in power, they know of what you see in front of you. They know of these very images. They know who are responsible for every element of civilization that we have now honed. And this is what they've continuously kept from us. When I look at, as a historian, when I researched all of those black towns that existed during segregation, when I found out how those towns were started, created, how they worked together to maintain those towns, to help people pay off their homes in times of crises, how they were self-governing, I was absolutely amazed, absolutely amazed. And I say to myself, well, what are we doing in 2026 that is as relevant as this? When I talked about building the types of houses that we're currently building in Toomsboro, Georgia. I guess some people thought about Malachi York, and I don't know if you all are familiar with him, but he was a black guy who had an organization called the Nuwabians, and they built some pyramid structures in Edenton, and the feds ended up raiding his operation and, and imprisoning him, and, it was a whole big thing. So I think a lot of people are looking at the Black Achievement Fund, seeing what it is that we're doing, and wondering, are we of the same strand? And the answer is no. But at the same time, what I realize in a lot of comments is that what you're doing is a little bit too much for what you should be doing. It's a little bit too much for a small community. And once again, if anyone else was building a community similar to what we're doing, in which we are growing our own food, having nature trails, having professional spa services, having farm produce, chicken raising operations, beekeeping, place for partying, swimming, all of these things. This is not a new idea. This is not a new idea, but the very fact, when you speak of something that signifies black prosperity, black self-determination, an overarching or overwhelming display of love of African history, of African culture, seizing control of the legacy of ancient Kemet, a legacy in which they tried so hard to deny was an African legacy. And we're so thankful to the scholars like Sheikh Anta Diop and so many others to be able to provide us in this modern era with undeniable, undisputable proof that the people who built these pyramids, the people who gave the world civilization, real civilization, not barbarism, real civilization, real spirituality, were African people. And at one time, the whole world looked to African people for the example in everything. In the same way that that woman said that in our DNA is passed on the horrors of the trauma of enslavement, in our DNA is the blood of kings and queens and geniuses. We have never been extinct. We've never been wiped out. So what that means is that we in our bloods have a continuous DNA that is the oldest on earth. We are the oldest people on earth. So, when we look at where we are right now in 2026, it is a situation that a lot of Pan-Africanists are saying, we told you so. In the sense that we relied on a strategy of integration exclusively to our detriment. The strategy of integration was supposed to be a means to a greater end. a means for more black people to move into the middle class, a means for us to be able to aggregate more capital so that we could begin to continue the progress of building the communities that we've built, continue the progress of building the businesses into conglomerates to compete with the other businesses that were out here in the world. That should have been the direction. But we traded skills. We traded all of the hard industrial skills that we had gained through enslavement and after enslavement. We traded all of those hard skills for a liberal arts education. I mean, it was a shrewd way of divesting us from a whole bunch of skills that would have enabled us to continue to build all of those communities. Remember, we were building all of those communities with no help from no one. And I'm talking about swampland. I'm talking about swampland. And as a new real estate developer, I can tell you that operating in the middle of nowhere, where you're far from resources, where you don't have power tools, equipment is super hot, and you're talking about a swamp condition, because make no mistakes about it, most of the land that was available to black people to purchase was not the best land. However, we were able to overcome all of those odds. And then here comes an education system that quietly divests us from all of those skills and knowing how to build. All right? When you're talking about the plantation economy in the South, all of those buildings were made with slave hands. The bricks that made up the building were made with enslaved African people's hands. We were architects without any degrees. You best believe we were in the room, because instinctively they knew that we've been building houses for millennia. We introduced new technologies, new food, new crop systems, all of these things. So now we're in 2026. We're in 2026. And we don't have leadership that's screaming, let's build new Wakandas all across America. Let's build awesome new neighborhoods that are futuristic and, we have the ability to be our own, to have our own mayors and own police departments and police chiefs, and we can appoint our own judges and all of those things. Is that possible in America? It's possible right now. So, with all of these resources, with all of this capital that we have right now, where is the leadership that's saying, you know what, I think we need to reinvest in ourselves right now? I think we're getting a clear signal that our momentum in mainstream America has hit a brick wall with this new administration. You have a Republican, an outwardly racist and hostile to minorities and immigrant Republican Party, who are openly saying, okay, corporate America, don't hire them no more. Don't give them, forget about an advantage. Don't hire them altogether for nothing. So now, what is going to happen with all of these middle and upper middle class and wealthy black people who sent their kids to all of these elite universities and colleges? Where are they going to work? As these corporations are saying, no, we don't want you guys. No, we don't have any DEI programs, and therefore no opportunities for you here? Where are the competing black industries that are going to hire them? Where are the black hospitals that are going to hire the black doctors that you're producing? Where are the businesses and industries that need the black engineers, the computer scientists? Where are the venture capital firms, the private equity firms that's here to provide seed capital to emerging black business minds? Who is here to take care of us when our good old friends, the federal government, the integrated system, is no longer seeking our participation? It's a question that has to be answered. When I look around, I'm starting to see more and more middle class, upper middle class, adult children moving home. So now you have a situation where we have to now support adult children who now don't have any direction because the employment opportunities that they thought were going to be there with these liberal art degrees aren't there. How many generations is the wealth that you created going to last? Your children aren't equipped to run businesses, to run companies, because they've been saddled with liberal arts theory-based education from high school all the way to college, and then in graduate school. Very few professions demand a clinical component before graduation, where you actually have to show and work and demonstrate your competency in a real world setting. That's not what happens. So here we are without a movement in the right direction. Here we are still straddled to an ideology of integration, which says that our greatest power base is through electoral politics. But now we've also seen that we've hit a roadblock with politics. The Republicans control the House, the Senate, Supreme Court, and the presidency. And in this short term, look how much damage they have done to civil rights. Look how much they have reversed the progress that we fought for over a century to create for ourselves. And all of this while we were generating all of this income, all of this wealth, all of this influence, for whatever reason, we failed to channel that back into the establishment, the maintenance, the development of our own communities, of our own economies. I don't know if the level of fear that the burning down, the lynchings had on our leadership in terms of their willingness to repeatedly to try over, to continue to build our own autonomous communities. I don't know why we don't have them. I just know that we don't have them. The ones that we do have are insufficient. I did a tour of all of the 13 all-black towns that still exist in Oklahoma, and they were all absolutely struggling. town only in name. As adults, we have responsibilities of leadership, not just for ourselves, but for our people, for our community. And I don't care if you have children or not, because you also are a part of the equation. When I talk about employment, all of us need jobs, and we have varying interests. So we need to be able to have a broad-based, comprehensive solution to be able to provide jobs for Black people seeking jobs in everything conceivable. The Black Achievement Fund has created a platform that enables us to do such a thing. We have created the organizational structure so that Black people from every imaginable field of knowledge would be able to find expression, find a job, from real estate development, education, farming and agriculture, small business, banking and financial services, manufacturing and transportation, health and wellness, culture and community, grants and scholarships, international affairs, special initiatives, and our membership and volunteer service department. We've created a very simple corporate structure to recycle our wealth across all of these different industries, all of these different departments. And through these departments, find, hire the best and brightest minds to run and develop programming and services under all of these departments on behalf of Black people all across the country. We're talking about new universities, new high schools, specialized. We're talking about new hospitals, medical testing facilities. We're talking about manufacturing plants. We're talking about doing all of the things necessary to ensure that we are in control of our future and not some other group. And I'm not saying that we should abandon integration. I mean, that's crazy. We're not here to turn back the clock in any capacity. However, that's not enough. We can't rely solely on the goodwill of other people to secure our future, to secure our children's future. So, sorry about that. Again, I don't have a babysitter today, so I'm trying to keep the toddler interference to a minimum for you guys. But we have a few people on today, and I want to open the conversation up to any of you all who may have something to share related to the idea of Black people, of us not shrinking in this moment, but understanding that in order for us to get to a point of self-determination, in order for us to inspire the next generation into believing in this idea of Black unity and collectivism, we have to be able to show them tangibly that we can create such a thing. But any comments related to what we've been talking about today?
Shay, brother, this is Minister Kyle Rob from Chicago. Just to let you know, I have a couple people from Chicago that's on right now that were listening to you. And no problem. We all understand about having our little ones, brother. We get it, I know what you were saying as far as talking about this, what you're talking about, the community and so forth. Uh, a lot of us understand, I'm very familiar with Dr. York and the New Wabians. And also, if you recall, I don't know if anyone remember, but the Nation of Islam bought land there in Atlanta as well some time ago. I think the issue with us is that we have been so damaged. We're going through so much trauma, and it's been trickled down. Fear. I think me and you talked before about, I also been to those places that the Black Wall Streets and the so forth, and they have a common denominator. The common denominator was we were too, even with Kemet, we've always been a type of people that was always inviting to a fault, where we would invite others, teach others, because have no doubt, United States wouldn't be United States if it wasn't for our people. There would be no civilization if it wasn't for our people. We tend to be giving that way, but we never thought about protecting.
Absolutely.
Never thought about protecting what we had, because we was just so, it's in our nature. Believe it or not, people talk about the killings. That's something that any human being is going to kill, okay, for survival. That's just a thing. But we wasn't that people, though.
Absolutely not.
We love nature. Well, we wouldn't even kill a cockroach.
Absolutely.
They gave that, by the way, to the monks of China. But anyway, and they wouldn't even have been able to do anything without our people. So I just think that we've been so traumatized. When I heard about this is such a beautiful thing. But also, we worry about who's going to run it. Who's going to be this? Who's going to be, like John Henry Clark said, the way we did things by council. We had council of elders that ran everything. You had to go to the council of elders. They would vote and decide. That worked out so well.
Yeah, for that situation, even down today, we strive here at the Black Achievement Fund to have developed a decentralized leadership platform, whereby we don't have someone like myself who is an overarching leader, so on and so forth. We're here to cultivate local leadership. Our organizational chart is there to motivate and incentivize local leaders to step up, get elected to be the branch presidents of the local Black Achievement Fund branch, and then they report to regional directors, so on and so forth. So we've always meant to incorporate the smartest people that we can find in all of the relevant leadership positions that we need. So the biggest, I think, issue that we have is a believing in our ability to accomplish something on that scale. Number one, the leadership. As
Yes,
you mentioned, you've had the Nuwabians attempt something similar. You have the Nation of Islam, as you mentioned, purchase land
right,
here in Atlanta. You have the Shrine of the Black Madonna, who have
right,
the land. But I
right.
think people are waiting for the next steps.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
And what I'm saying right now, the Black Achievement Fund has land. And we've had land now literally for years that hasn't been cultivated. We raised a little over $40,000 or close to $40,000 to build our first guest home on the land, but that's a little over half of the necessary amount of capital. But I think that those who consider ourselves leaders within this space, within this movement, I think we need to direct more of our time, more of our attention to building the movement so that we can have more tangible results behind what we're doing. My goal as the president of the Black Achievement Fund is to create thank you, is to create a model community. We have 118 acres out there. My goal is to take those 118 acres and build a paradise devoted to Black history, Black culture, and one that welcomes us in a safe way, one in which we are in charge of the community that we live in. So that is my goal, to showcase that we do have the capacity, that we do have the imagination, that we do still have that spirit of love for our ancestors, to create one that is inspired by their work, that's inspired by our culture, our history. So showing improving.
Yeah.
Everyone, this past weekend was Garvey weekend, and
Hmm.
everyone is in awe of Garvey still because of what he was able to accomplish tangibly. So that's what we have to do right now.
Brother Keith, can you briefly? I have some people who are new. Can you give them a brief synopsis of uh, when you started, what made you start, and a little brief synopsis of what the the fund is, the Black Achievement Fund is? Can you just give a brief, just as
Sure.
brief as you can? Let me put it like that.
All right. I conceptualized the Black Achievement Fund as an undergraduate student at the University of Virginia way back in 1996. And I started building on it with the co-founder, Jesus Powell. And we quickly realized that it was key to one of the most essential stages of the Black liberation struggle, and that was economic independence for self-determination. And at that point, we had heard all of the pushback against affirmative action way back then. That was a hot topic. Black people were in these positions because of affirmative action, not because they merited it at all, and so on and so forth. So I came of age, and that was the conversation. So to be here right now, we saw the beginnings of that backlash way back in 1996. So our goal for the Black leadership establishment back then as college students was self-determination. That's what we wanted. We wanted to be able to build our own city and control our own city, control our own finances for the city, control our own voting apparatus, control our own court system, appoint our own judges, appoint our own police departments. And we saw that we had done this before. We saw that we had this level of autonomy, of self-determination before. So when we began to read about more and more and more of these communities and saw what the possibilities were, but then also saw that this is what the white races desired. They wanted us to not form a part of their society, of their community in any way, shape, or form. They wanted us to build our separate communities, our separate society. They wanted us to have separate everything. And in many respects, we wanted to be as far away from those people as possible as well. So here we are in 1996 saying, why isn't this the focus of the leadership establishment right now? Why hasn't there been a shift in focus since the civil rights movement? So that's the genesis of the Black Achievement Fund. As we progressed in thought, we wanted to create an organization and a corporation that wasn't centered on a charismatic leader, but one that was able to provide an organizational chart that enabled the people who provided the capital to have a say and a run in how things were operating through their money. You don't like what the organization's doing, this is not just a vote. You take your dollar away, immediately, but also giving them accountability. Because we can't do what we're saying we're going to do if you don't do what you say you're going to do and provide the $9. So the whole organizational structure was one in which whatever capital that we bring in gets disseminated across those 12 program departments that I mentioned. So for example, if you take our real estate development, let's take our education department. All right. Well, I'll go to real estate development. Our main objective. All right, you see a year one budget of 200 million. And this is with us operating at full capacity with the 10 million black people and our allies at $9 a month. Having $200 million, now we hire a director of our real estate development department. And now we have the budget to hire a seasoned black real estate developer to chart the course for development on behalf of the Black Achievement Fund. Now, this person has a $200 million budget to operate from off of 1 year. Imagine how much capital we are putting back into our community, because all of the new institutions that we're building, the new hospitals and medical testing facilities, the dental clinics, to schools, the colleges, universities, the community centers, the parks, the museums, everything that we're building, now this department has the capital to do so. So they're working in conjunction with other departments to quickly bring into fruition all of these things that a community needs in order for it to be a healthy community. When we talk about healthcare, all right, for the first year, we've allocated $150 million towards our health and wellness department. We used to have over 100 independent black hospitals all across the country. Right now, today, we only have one. We have one, and that's the Howard University Medical Center. So just imagine having $150 million in 1 year. Now we have the capital to hire an executive director and executive team for our health and wellness department who has a $150 million budget in year one to begin the process of methodically building new hospitals and new health centers all across our country. And we've broken the country up into 5 different regions. And each of those regions are run by regional directors, so on and so forth. So we have an organizational structure that is meant to incorporate the brightest minds that we currently have with the ability to pay those people, to pay the best and the brightest to rebuild black communities, and having a sustainable budget whereby we're paying these salaries out of the $9, in a way where it's not hurting any member of our community. So that was the whole idea of the Black Achievement Fund, was to stand on the shoulders of giants, to stand on the shoulders of the civil rights movement, and to move the goalposts further, to say that, all right, we've achieved legislative independence, so to speak. We're not enslaved anymore, but we have to now return back to self-determination. So that is our solution. So that's a short way of kind of giving a little bit of the history and where we are now and why we came up with the type of economic model that we came up with. So we're a little at 3 o'clock. I want to thank all of you all for being members of the Black Achievement Fund, for believing in the vision, and please continue to spread the word about what it is that we're doing. We need leadership. We need leadership here in Atlanta. We need leadership all across the country. So wherever you are, if you're ready to step up, please contact us at baf.solutions. And also, before I go, I want to mention our Haunted Halloween weekend that we are having. You can go to Black Achievement Fund Halloween Trail Ride, and it has information about that. And this is a fundraiser. We're raising capital to begin to build on our land. So this has all of the information about the event. It's going to be a 2-day event. We're going to have a haunted trail, costume contest, live DJ, vendors, so on and so forth. So if you're going to be in town, please make sure that you support that.
The Kemet Club?
No, that's actually going to be on our
You know what I'm
land.
saying? Can you talk about the Kemet Club as well?
Oh, absolutely. So the Kemet Club is our members only space here in Atlanta. I'm going to pull it up. And essentially, it is our gathering space for members. Members can come here, work on business. We let members use it for nonprofit organization meetings. We have live events out of the Kemet Club from music events. We also have everything from yoga, chess. It's just a place for everyone. And this is one of the things that we're seeking to build for our community so that, once again, we're taking ownership of where we are in our community, and we're financing our own development. We're not sitting and waiting for the federal government. We're not waiting for foundations to do it. But what can we do right now with our capital? So, things like this are things that we want to establish all across the country. So you guys are in Chicago. It would be great for us to have a Kemet Club Chicago, and the capital that you guys raise there in Chicago on behalf of the Black Achievement Fund goes to support the development of the Kemet Club there. But this is the ways in which we are seeking to have local leadership emerge and use the Black Achievement Fund's platform to begin that process of creating these spaces in communities across the country.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, brother.
No problemo. So once again, thank all of you guys for all of your support. Please continue to share the word about the Black Achievement Fund. We need more members, more members, more members. And we have more and more events that we're going to be having on our land. So stay tuned for more to come. Thank you. Love you.